It's easy to forget that kindness doesn't cost a thing, especially in the cold rush of a subway station. Everyone's in a hurry, no one looks up, and sometimes cruelty slips out like it's nothing. That morning, a young girl stood quietly on the platform, clutching her tablet, unable to hear the world that mocked her. Bullies had surrounded her mocking, laughing as if they owned the station. But what those bullies didn't know was that Jason Statham was standing right behind them. Before we continue, thank you to every single one of you who watches, comments, and shares these stories. You're the reason we keep telling them. And if you're new here, welcome to our community. Make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week we bring you stories that remind us that decency still exists, and sometimes it fights back. The subway air was heavy that morning, the kind that carried the hum of machinery, the shuffle of feet, and the smell of rain from the streets above. People hurried, heads down, earbuds in, lost in their own worlds. But among the noise, one girl stood still. Her name was Emily, 14 years old, backpack slung over one shoulder, a worn tablet clutched tightly in her hands. Her brown hair was pulled back neatly, and a small hearing aid glinted behind her ear. To most, she looked like any other student waiting for the train. But Emily lived in silence, a world without sound, where every vibration and movement told her more than words ever could. She checked her tablet, the text-to-speech app she used to communicate with strangers. On its cracked screen, she'd typed out, "Does this train go to Greenpoint?" She raised the screen slightly toward a group of 3 young men standing nearby. They looked up at first confused, then smirking. The tallest one, wearing a green hoodie, leaned in to read the words. "What's this?" he muttered, then read it aloud for his friends. They snickered. "She's asking if this train goes to Greenpoint," one said in a mockingly slow voice, exaggerating each syllable like he was talking to a child. Emily smiled politely, not realizing the tone. She held the tablet out again. The boy leaned closer, pretending to read, then suddenly shouted, "I said, can you hear me?" The sound echoed down the tunnel. Heads turned, Emily froze. She could feel the vibrations of his voice through the air, harsh, sharp. Her eyes widened. He laughed, delighted by the reaction. His friends joined in. "Guess not," one of them said. "You gotta turn up the volume, sweetheart." They laughed louder. One mimed sign language clumsily, flailing his hands. Another pointed at her hearing aid and whispered, "What's that, Bluetooth?" Emily's face reddened. She turned her head down, clutching the tablet closer to her chest. She typed quickly, her hands shaking. "Please stop." But when she raised the tablet, the tallest one snatched it from her hands. "Oh, what's this? She talks through this thing." He held it up, pretending to type. "Let's see what she's got to say." He pressed random buttons, mocking the robotic voice that came out. Please stop." His friends roared with laughter. That was when a shadow fell over them. The tallest boy looked up and saw a man standing just a few feet away. Broad shoulders, calm expression, cold eyes that watched everything. Jason Statham. He hadn't planned to take this train. He was heading to meet a friend across town, keeping his cap low to stay unnoticed. But when he saw the scene, the girl, the tablet, the laughter, he stopped walking. For a moment, he just observed. He watched how Emily flinched with each mocking gesture. He noticed how people nearby did nothing. They just stared, then looked away, pretending not to see. Jason stepped forward, slowly. "Hey," he said, voice low. The bullies turned, the tall one smirked. "What's up, Grandpa, you want something?" Jason didn't respond. His gaze dropped to the tablet still in the boy's hand. "That yours?" The kid raised his eyebrows. "You care?" Jason's tone didn't change. "Yeah, I do." The boy laughed, glancing at his friends. "You hear that? The tough guy cares." Jason's voice stayed quiet, controlled. "Put it down." The boy shook his head, still amused. "Nah, I'm just having fun. She's fine. Right, sweetheart?" He turned to Emily, who had stepped back against the tiled wall, trembling. Jason took another step closer. The air shifted, not louder, not faster, just heavier. The people nearby started paying attention. Even the sound of the incoming train seemed distant now. The boy rolled his shoulders, trying to stay confident. "What, you're a bodyguard or something?" Jason's gaze didn't waver. Something like that. The tall one's smirk faltered. Look, old man, we're just joking. Chill out. Jason's expression hardened. You think it's a joke. He stepped forward until he was close enough that the boy could see the reflection of his own smirk fading in Jason's eyes. Tell me what's funny about making someone feel small, Jason said quietly. I'll wait. The words weren't shouted, but they hit like a punch. The boy opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. His friends shifted uneasily. The people nearby stopped pretending not to look. Jason took the tablet gently from his hands and returned it to Emily. There you go, love. She looked up at him, eyes wide, lips trembling. She typed quickly, and the device spoke in its mechanical voice. Thank you. Jason smiled softly. You don't need to thank me. He turned back to the Bullies. You need to. The boy frowned. For what? Jason tilted his head slightly. For me stopping here, because if you'd done this 5 minutes later on an emptier platform, you wouldn't be walking home. The air went still. The boy's face paled. His friends looked away. Jason stepped back, hands relaxed at his sides. Now pick up your pride and get out of here. No one moved for a moment. Then the tallest boy muttered, whatever, man, and shoved his hands into his pockets, walking away fast, his friends scrambling behind him. The train arrived, brakes screeching. Jason gestured for Emily to go ahead. She hesitated, then slowly walked beside him. They boarded together. Inside, they sat near the door. Jason leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Emily clutched her tablet closed, typing something. They do this a lot. Jason read the words on the screen, jaw tightening. To you. She nodded. At school, sometimes here too. Jason looked out the window at the dark tunnel speeding by. People who do that, they don't understand strength. Emily tilted her head, curious. Jason looked back at her. Takes more courage to live in your world than it does to talk in mine. She smiled faintly, then typed again. You didn't have to help. He smiled back. Yeah, I did. They sat in silence, the kind that wasn't heavy but calm. For the first time that morning, Emily didn't feel small. When the train slowed at the next station, Jason stood. You getting off here? She shook her head. He nodded. All right then, stay safe. As he turned to leave, she reached out and tapped his sleeve lightly. He looked down. She held up her tablet again. You're a good man. Jason's expression softened, almost a smile. Just a man who's seen too many bad ones. Then he stepped off the train. Back on the platform, the Bullies hadn't gone far. They were standing near the stairs, whispering and watching as Jason walked past. Dude, that guy looks familiar, one muttered. Yeah, another said. Wasn't he in that movie? Before they could finish, Jason turned slightly, giving them that same quiet look. The kind that said everything words couldn't. They froze. He didn't need to say anything this time. He just walked away, the sound of his boots echoing down the tunnel. And for the first time, the Bullies looked smaller than the person they'd mocked. That night, a clip went viral on social media. Someone on the platform had recorded the entire scene, the Bullies, the tablet, Jason stepping in. The caption read, Jason Statham defending a deaf girl on the London Underground. Respect. Within hours, millions had seen it. But Jason hadn't done it for the cameras. He didn't even know there were any. He did it because some things still mattered, even when the world pretended they didn't. The video spread like wildfire overnight. News sites picked it up, hashtags trended, and people flooded the comments with praise. Jason Statham is a legend, not just on screen. This is what a real man looks like. The way he defended that girl, no words. But Jason didn't see it right away. He didn't have social media alerts on. He didn't chase trends. He'd just gone home, made tea, and gone to bed. To him, it had just been a moment, something any decent person should do. By morning, his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. His manager called first thing. Jason, the man said breathlessly, you're all over the internet. Jason frowned, half awake. For what? The video, the girl, the station. You standing up to those guys, it's everywhere. Jason sighed softly. That's not supposed to be news, mate. That's supposed to be normal. Meanwhile, across the city, Emily sat in her small kitchen with her mother. scrolling through the same video. Her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness this time but disbelief. Thousands of strangers were commenting things like, "You're so brave, Emily. Never let them make you feel small. The world needs more people like you and him." Her mother covered her mouth, overwhelmed. She typed quickly into the text-to-speech app for Emily to read. "You see, people saw the truth this time." Emily smiled. She'd spent so many days feeling invisible. Suddenly, the world was listening. Later that afternoon, there was a knock on their door. Her mother opened it and froze. Jason stood there. Cap pulled low, casual jacket quiet as ever. "Sorry to show up unannounced," he said. "Didn't want to make a scene, just wanted to see how she's doing." Emily peeked from behind the door, her eyes widening. Her mother quickly gestured for her to come forward. Jason smiled. "Hey, love." She ran to grab her tablet and started typing furiously. "You came here." Jason nodded. "Yeah, thought I owed you something." She looked confused. "Oh, me?" He shrugged. "I got a lot of messages this morning all saying what a hero I was. But that's not true. You're the brave one. You didn't fight back, you didn't shout, you just stood there. That takes strength." Emily's eyes softened. She typed again. "You made them stop." Jason smiled faintly. "Maybe, but you made the world notice." Her mother invited him in, insisting he have tea. He tried to decline, but Emily typed, "You helped me, you have to stay for tea." He laughed quietly. "Can't argue with that." As they sat around the small kitchen table, Emily's mother asked softly, "Why did you stop? Most people, they don't." Jason leaned back in the chair, thinking for a long moment. "When I was younger," he began slowly, "my brother had a speech impediment. Kids at school mocked him for it. One day I came home and found him crying. I told myself I'd never stand by and watch that again. Doesn't matter if it's 20 years later or in a train station. Some things stick with you." Emily typed, "You kept your promise." Jason nodded. "Yeah, guess I did." Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Messages started coming in not just from fans, but from parents, teachers, and kids. A school in Manchester sent an email saying they'd shown the video in class to talk about empathy. A deaf awareness charity reached out, asking if Jason would speak publicly about kindness and inclusion. He hesitated at first, not because he didn't want to help, but because he didn't want to make it about him. When he told Emily about it later, she typed a simple message that changed his mind. "If you speak, people listen. You can make them understand." He nodded. "All right then, we'll do it together." A week later, a community event was held in London, small, low-key, organized by the charity. No press, no red carpet, just folding chairs and a sign that said, "Kindness doesn't need sound." Emily sat beside Jason on stage, her tablet resting on her lap. When it was her turn, she typed and pressed the speaker. The robotic voice echoed through the quiet hall. People laugh because they don't understand, but one person made them stop. Maybe next time it will be someone else. Maybe you. The audience was silent, then the room filled with applause. Jason leaned in, smiling. "Told you they'd listen." Emily grinned and typed, "Because you're here." He shook his head gently. "Because you are." After the event, the same bullies from the station saw the clip online. They didn't laugh this time. One of them, the tall one, stared at the screen for a long time, unable to shake the guilt crawling up his spine. That night, he opened his phone and typed a message. "Hey, I was one of the guys from the train. I'm sorry." He hit send before he could change his mind. Emily read it the next morning. Her mother asked what she wanted to do. She typed back, "It's okay, be better." No anger, no revenge, just a quiet lesson, one he'd never forget. Weeks later, Jason visited the station again. Same platform, same blue tiles. He stood there for a moment, hands in his pockets, watching the crowd. There was laughter again, but this time it wasn't cruel, just people living their lives. A small boy nearby accidentally dropped his toy. Before Jason could move, another man, just a stranger, bent down, picked it up, and handed it back with a smile. Jason nodded to himself. Maybe the world wasn't all bad after all. He pulled out his phone and sent a message to Emily's mom. "Tell her the station looks different today." She replied minutes later with a photo, Emily smiling, holding her tablet. "Because of you." Jason smiled faintly and typed back, "Because of us." Then he slipped his phone into his jacket pocket and disappeared into the crowd, just another face on the platform, moving quietly through the world, making it better one stop at a time. A few days later, the same quote from the charity event began circulating online, attached to a photo of Jason and Emily sitting side by side. Kindness doesn't need sound. It spread farther than the video ever did, shared by teachers, parents, even celebrities. Not because it was about fame or heroism, but because it reminded everyone of something simple, something we all forget. You don't have to shout to make a difference. You just have to care. That's how Jason wanted it to end, quietly, without the cameras, without the noise. Because true strength isn't about the punch you throw. It's about the moments you choose not to walk away.